Hey, what is up, guys? Blunt Guts here. This is a Watcher of Realms video. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. Really appreciate it. Please do like this video if you do enjoy my content. It really helps me out, so I would very much appreciate it if you took a second, hit that thumbs up button. That would really be helpful to me and to my channel, so thank you in advance for doing that. Today is the inaugural edition of the Blunt Guts mailbag. I'm going to try to do this hopefully once a week, but we'll see what level of interest there is. Maybe I scale it back depending on that. I don't know if I'm going to get enough questions. So really depends on you, the viewers, whether or not this this is a successful kind of recurring content or not. But the plan is, you know, I get a lot of questions in my comments. I try to give answers there, but I feel like some of them really a video does a better job. So I think I'm going to try to do this weekly. So last week, about a week ago, a little background here, I did make a post on YouTube asking for people to ask me some questions. And I said I was going to be doing a mailbag episode. And so I have got a series of questions that people did ask me. I'm going to try to answer some of them as best I can right now. Some of them I may not end up completely answering right now because I think some of them might actually require a separate video. But going to try to answer them as best I can. And I'm also going to encourage you, if you are tuning in and you do want to ask a question, please toss it down in the comments, and I will use the comment section for this video in order to populate the questions for the next edition of Blunt's Mailbag. So without further ado, let's get to the first question. All right, so for our first question, man with an awesome name has a question. I'll toss it up on the screen here. I ate the Muffin Man. You've robbed us of a true hero, my friend. I don't know why you would do such a thing. But he wants to know which demon soldiers, in my opinion, should get top priority for level 5. You know, I think this is an excellent question. And honestly, it's one that I put a lot of thought into. So I'm going to go through real quick here. Unfortunately, I don't know that this necessarily is going to lead anybody to, I guess, have a direction on their farming necessarily, as much as I think that these are kind of like the minimum requirements to progress in Overlord GVG, have effective attacks, things like that. So I'm going to put these in order as far as what I think is most important. And I'd say we're going to stick to epics here. Obviously, you know, it would be great to have a lot of the legendary demon soldiers at level 5, but as you can see, I only actually have one legendary demon soldier at level 5, and that is the Bookkeeper. It's not the one I would have picked. Honestly, if I was going to pick one of these, it would probably be the Lightning Guard is the one that I would want the most. But shards are just so random, and I have farmed more than most in this game, and I still only have one at level 5 for the legendaries. So I would not focus on that. I would concentrate on epics first. I wouldn't be all that pressed about the rares either, so I'm not going to talk about them. Although, you know, just as far as like just getting levels on them, you know, spiders are great. The skeletal guardians, these rare tanks are great. The fallen reapers used to be great. They've kind of fallen off a little bit. I think they just don't have quite enough HP at this point to really be viable anymore. Hopefully that does change at some point, but they do die just very, very easily, so I wouldn't worry about them. But mainly I would say amongst these, I would say skeletal guardians and the spiders are important, and maybe the flyers as well for the rares. But going back to the epics, as I started talking about here, I think that if you're looking for a priority queue here, I'd say unequivocally and I'm going to surprise some people here, the dogs. These epic dogs are the most important ones to get to level 5. As much as I think there are some really great units that you do want to get to level 5 as well, this speed enhancement is massive. It allows you to basically to move more quickly through a defense. It allows you to swarm more effectively. It really allows you to bypass and fit in the dogs in between a lot of ultimates. That is so key. So I would certainly put them as my number 1. And then we're going to move into probably more typical stuff, and that would be the axolotls right here would be my number 2 priority. Now, the nice thing is both the number 1, the dogs, as well as these axolotls at number 2, they are both available in Gear Raid 3, if I'm not mistaken, right? So these guys I know are in Gear Raid 3. The dogs, I believe, are in Gear Raid 3 as well. They are. So both of them are in Gear Raid 3. Axolotls are super important because they are the way that you're going to basically take down tanks more often than not. Now, you can use Maw, you can use other things, but typically you need to use Maw in conjunction with these axolotls in order to get it down. They are the hardest hitting melee units in the game as far as demon soldiers are concerned, and it's going to be hard to take down any tanks without them. On top of that, their other kind of like tank busting counterparts don't have anywhere near as much HP as these guys do. So really, really important. I would say they are probably your second priority, and then as the number third priority, I would say the necromancers are going to be super, super important as well. They become more important over time. Hitting that level 5 gives you this necro enhancement, which basically makes all of the skeletal fighters that they do summon much more tanky and make them hit harder. It increases their attributes, and it's just really, really important to developing an effective swarm, especially when you're going against hard-hitting teams, which is just, it seems like over time, more people have gotten the better heroes, and there's just been more heroes that, like, I'm thinking like a Nora and Ymir, things like that have been released into the game, not for a little while now, but I'd say, up to about, like, July or so, around the anniversary, there had been just a bit of power creep, and you really did need to get these to level 5 to compete at the highest level. So certainly I would put them in there. I think, honorable mentions certainly go to either of the tanks here, whether that's the Imperial Pharaoh Guard or the Fallen Templar. Each of them get a 15% boost at level 5 to their kind of their specialty mitigation. So the Fallen Templars get an increase, their 15% increase their defense at level 5. The Pharaoh Guards do get a 15% increase to their magic resist at level 5. So really, really important there. Other than that, I mean, Shaman are nice, but it's just a 25% boost on them. I'm just trying to think of like the most commonly used ones here. I'd say this is somewhat important, would be getting the suicide bombing. Isn't quite as common as it was in the first like 3 seasons or so, but getting the speed enhancement on them does make your life a little bit easier. It can also kind of close some doors as far as deployment options as well. So, it's kind of a double-edged sword. That's why I wouldn't place them higher. I do think you want some levels in here so they just hit hard enough and they've got more HP so they don't get killed before they reach their target. But because bombing is just not as common as it used to be, I wouldn't place them all that high on the priority list. And, just because I'm not mentioning somebody here does not mean that they're not important necessarily. I just think that the big power boosts at level 5 are for the units that I have mentioned. All right, next question up. Belt Reality, longtime viewer of mine. He wants to know, what are the best gear sets for defenders, fighters, etc.? So I'm going to go through what I use, and I'll kind of talk you through my logic as far as that's concerned. But I will say, a lot of this is very hero dependent, so it's going to depend on the specific bonuses and skills of the heroes that you are putting this gear on. So I would always take that into consideration when you are gearing somebody up. However, let's take a look. He asked the question about defenders first, so let's take a look at one of my tanks here, and I can show you what I often end up doing here. So Regulus here, I've got the new, what is this called, Tempered Will on him. It's really, as far as defenders are concerned, there's really 2 options. You're looking at either Tempered Will or you're looking at Guardian pieces, and the big reason is for this damage reduction, plus 15% on here. It's worded slightly different on the Guardian pieces here, so damage taken minus 15% versus damage reduction plus 15%. I'm not sure on the back end of the game how the math works as far as those 2 different phrasings are concerned. I haven't seen a significant difference, but I also haven't specifically tested it. So if anybody does have specific numbers or testing that they've done on the difference between these 2 sets, Guardian versus Tempered Will, please do let me know. I think, generally speaking, assuming there is no difference, then Tempered Will is going to be your preferred set as far as tanks are concerned. Damage reduction theoretically is the same, whether it's minus 15% damage taken or plus 15% damage reduction. This one is going to have higher main stat values. You can see the HP bonus on this bangle versus the Guardian bangle is 6% higher on the Tempered Will because it is a tier 3 set. So that jump is very important. On top of that, you're also going to get, for each enemy blocked, increases defense by 5%, stacking up to 4 times. So theoretically, you could get another 20% defense. So as far as the actual pieces themselves, though, what I tend to do recently, I have a kind of a target that I like to hit for HP. I try to get my tank to 100k HP. If they are a legendary, obviously the epics are going to have lower stats, so you might want to put that down around more like 85, 90k or something like that if you are gearing an epic like an Olog or something like that. But as far as the legendary tanks, I try to hit 100k HP, and then I also will try to stack defense on them after that. So typically, these days, with my gearing, that means that I've got 2 HP percent pieces and 1 defense piece. And that is how I things out. On the left-hand side, you're really looking at Immortal Warrior, or more recently, we did get this Astral Guardian set. Either one is great. Obviously, Astral Guardian's better. It's got a better set bonus, very slightly, though. It's extra 5% HP, extra 5% defense. You know, at this point in the game, when you are end game, you're really just looking for any way that you can stack stats. But, you know, I would encourage you not to just default to one or the other, because you may have really good rolls on an Immortal Warrior weapon that may make it better than what you would get from getting that boosted set bonus on the Astral Guardian stuff. So let's look at fighters, but this advice could largely just go for really any of the damage dealers in the game. Soulbound Arcana or Infernal Roar are going to be your best options as far as I know. Now, we do have some new sets that have come out recently, but my take is that they're just not that great. You know, I don't think that Hell's Lament or Cataclysm are really going to supersede either Soulbound Arcana or Infernal Roar, at least not the way that the two Tier 2 sets function right now. More often than not, Soulbound Arcana is my go-to, and I try to stack triple attack percent on the right-hand side, reason being that you want to be able to exceed the Demon Soldier massive, like, defense rating, magic resist rating, that kind of thing. They tend to have really, really high ratings, especially when they're affiliated to high BP units. So you do want to make sure that you are stacking enough attack bonus in order to overcome that magic resist or defense rating that the Demon Soldiers are going to have. But generally speaking, Soulbound Arcana is the way to go. I would say also Warlord is pretty standard here for similar reasons. Attack speed's great, but also that extra attack is invaluable to me, in my opinion, in GVG. So I would certainly stack that, but you know, you could also go for like a Wicked Vengeance or something like that. There are situations where Wicked Vengeance, despite the fact that I'm only getting plus 10% attack versus plus 25%, because I have better stats on the Wicked Vengeance, it ends up being better. So I wouldn't, when it's just stat boosts that you're talking about as far as the bonus is concerned, I would try to look at things holistically and not feel like you need to use Warlord or something else because that is the proper one to do. It's whatever gives you the most stats is going to be the best. And typically, like for the reasons I was just talking about, I think attack bonus is the best stat for damage dealing units in GVG, but you know, it's going to depend somewhat on the hero as well. There are situations like Silas and things like that where you do have units that do ignore a percentage or all of the enemy's defense or magic resist, and that obviously is going to weigh into your decision as well. So hopefully that that answered your question. I think the only type of unit that I have not actually talked about is healers here. And healers, I mean, it's Invig. It's Invig, or I guess the new Wings of Grace or whatever, although I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I think there's some kind of bug between Invig and Wings of Grace. As far as the left side pieces, I'm typically going for whatever is going to get me the most attack speed and rage regen. Now, I think that for somebody like Carnelian, for example, again, you need to... put her gear on right now. You need to kind of take into account the unit's kit, right? So Carnelian, I'm going to stack way more speed because for her healing is not going to be all that much regardless. I just want her to cast her little healing balls at people as quickly as possible so we can keep that Soul Essence buff up or reapply it as quickly as possible. That is the goal here. That's why she has massive rage regen. That's why she's got 704 attack speed, you know, all that kind of stuff. So that's how I would kind of think about it. But yeah, I think that's it. Hopefully that answered your question. And speaking of Carnelian, we got a question about her specifically. Killer Anu 3221 asks, what type of defenses should you use Carnelian over a normal healer? Is she just flat out better? Is she only better in certain situations or maps? Good question. I don't know that I have a great answer for this, honestly. Well, I guess for the first part of your question, I would say that she's not just flat out better. I think that Carnelian is very situationally useful. She is really good in GVG because she, especially when built right, when built fast, like I was just talking about in my answer to the previous question, she is somebody who really causes a lot of headaches for the opponent, right? Because they need to not only kill the unit, but they need to kill them and then land a killing blow in between when the Soul Essence expires and when Carnelian reapplies it. So she just creates all sorts of problems. And there's a lot of issues that kind of come into play with her kit that need to be taken into account for the attacker. And I think that is why she's so prevalent in GVG. On top of that, just any unit that can prevent fatal damage is kind of at the top of the meta right now as far as healers are concerned in GVG. So that is really where you should be using her. So when you ask what type of defenses should you use Carnelian over a normal healer, I mean, I think Carnelian and Lily are the top two healers in the game right now for GVG. The reason is that they prevent fatal damage. And so I would say, Lily aside, you should be using Carnelian over pretty much every other healer in most situations. I think there are some situations where she is better. And I will highlight Torador, for example. We can see if we can pull him up here. But Torador, he's a little naked right now. But Torador, because he does revive himself, because that revive will not take place until Carnelian's Soul Essence does fade from him, he basically has to be he has to be killed multiple times, and then Carnelian is going to be putting up the Soul Essence on him over and over again. It creates this nightmare situation where you have to kill Torador like maybe 4 or 5 times, let alone, God forbid, if you're going up against an A5 one, and then he needs to be killed 3 times, plus however many times Carnelian can save him. So there are definitely certain situations where she is better. I would say if you are using any Chaos units in your team, obviously Carnelian is going to be preferable to Lily, like Ardea, or if you're using Sargak or anything like that. Having Carnelian in there allows them to have some level of kind of like a no shit button. If they do take damage when they are low on health because of their skills, they are not going to die immediately because they've got the Soul Essence on them to save them, and hopefully Carnelian can put up another Soul Essence before it expires. So that is when she is particularly good. But generally speaking, I'd say her and Lily are going to be your best options, just period, in GVG, just because they prevent that fatal damage. The next question that we have got is from Dead Aha. He sent this in actually on another video. I told him I would include this in the mailbag. So he says, thank you for the video. Can you please make a video explaining how BP works? Because sometimes you say it's just a BP check or something like this. I understand overall logic, but how it works specifically. Can you also explain how much attack is needed to break through different demon soldiers? Example, Fallen Templars, Mar, etc. So if I have a unit that has 20,000 attack and I am attacking a unit that has 20,000 defense, then the game, before it does anything else, is going to take that 20,000 attack, subtract the defense from it, meaning that the result is 5,000. It's going to take that 5,000, then multiply that by all of the damage modifiers, all of the crit damage, crit rate, all that kind of stuff, before it gives you a result, an actual damage output at that point. So let's go to the Demon Soldiers, and I'm going to show you some of the tankiest Demon Soldiers that we got here. Let's affiliate this Fallen Templar to a 114k battle power hex, and this is obviously, it's going to be very dependent on your opposition, right? So like in this case, I've got a level 5 Fallen Templar. That means he does get defensive enhancement plus 15% defense. We go and we look here at his defense, 37,543 defense. That means that there are very few units in the game that are going to have more than 37,543 attack. The only ones that I can really think of off the top of my head would be Ardea during her ultimate. I would say Lord Phineas. Of course, he's going to be doing magic damage, so he would be the magic resist that would be subtracted from his attack. So not quite as relevant here. But if you don't have enough attack to overcome the enemy defense, then you are going to default to only 5% of your damage output. And that is really debilitating. That's why these Fallen Templars are so powerful against, I'd say in particular, Nightmare teams, because Nightmare teams are almost exclusively physical damage, and so they're basically just run into a brick wall that is this Fallen Templar. Now, true damage, magic damage, bleed, I believe, is going to circumvent that defense, but it is very effective at kind of curtailing some of the stronger damage dealers in the game. And so that's how you kind of want to think about it, is that an opponent is probably going to be setting something like this up against you. Now, if we're looking at let's say like an Axe Slaughter or something like that, they don't get anywhere near as many bonuses as the Fallen Templar do, the pure defensive units. So we look here, affiliated to the same hero, this Axe Slaughter has 14,000 defense. So all of a sudden, you're you just need to clear that by a decent amount in order to have decent damage against them. I'd say typically you're going to want somewhere, if a unit has, it's going to depend on the unit, obviously, but I'd say most of the mages in the game, for example, they have somewhere around 4,500 to 5,500 attack. That is going to mean that you're going to want to be stacking probably around 20k attack. That is typically what I'm going to be shooting for to attack a unit like this. It's still going to produce solid damage against them, but the more attack you can produce, the better, because the defense and magic resist is going to be so high on a lot of these units. As you go down and you're looking at lower tier units here, like you're just going to get lower values, so I think at the end of the day, it really depends on what you're attacking. It's hard to give a direct answer about like what thresholds you want to meet, but I typically shoot for at least 20k attack on units that don't have exceptionally high attack. If it's a fighter or something like that, like say like Ardea, as an example, I've got my Ardea at about 31,000 attack when she is in GVG, because she's one of the few units that is going to have enough attack to overcome some of these crazy high BPs. But yeah, so when I'm talking about a BP check, it usually means that the opponent has either such high demon levels or such high battle power units that they're affiliating to their demon soldiers that it is impossible for me, having lower affiliations or lower gear or awakenings or anything like that, to be able to compete with them, because they just have substantially better stats, and it makes everything just kind of too hard. It's not a level playing field. And so if you hear me bitching and moaning about BP, that is usually why. All right, last one up. Patrick 9999. What is your favorite ice cream flavor? Little do you know, this is something that is near and dear to my heart, honestly. When I was in college, I actually worked at Ben & Jerry's. I actually worked at the highest grossing Ben & Jerry's in the entire country. If you want to know where that is, you can go and you can Google it. I assume it's the same still. Spoiler alert, it is in Vermont. So when I was in college, I did work there for a couple of years. I've got Ben & Jerry's shirts. But beyond that, as a chubby guy, I do love me some ice cream. So I'd say traditionally my favorite is cookies and cream. That's my base. That's my standard. That's what I've been eating since I was a little kid. I love me some cookies and cream. But there's some really good flavors out there. I would say there used to be this flavor. I don't think they still make it. But if any of you are familiar with Seinfeld, we are entering the Christmas season right here. George Costanza's family, they celebrate a holiday called Festivus instead of Christmas. And there was an ice cream flavor called Festivus that was kind of like a gingerbread flavor, and oh my God, it was so good. There's some other flavors that have come out recently that are kind of like a cinnamon swirl kind of thing that are really good, and I like those a lot as well. So yeah, I like a little ice cream talk. And then I know a bunch of you also did ask whether or not I was I could do a video on GVG defenses. I certainly can do that, and I'm planning on doing it. I'm not going to go through that here because I think it's a larger topic that deserves its own video, but I will be putting that out in the next week now that I've had a chance to really kind of sink my teeth into Season 6 a bit. So I am going to close out this video by doing my last Ancient Summons. I actually did over 100 yesterday, the day before yesterday, on Saturday this week. I didn't get anything, so you guys didn't miss anything. But after reset, I do have 12 more now that I got from a combination of Void Rift, different rewards from events, from the, whatchamacallit, Guild Boss 2 rewards, that kind of thing. So I am going to do a couple of pulls right here. We're going to start off with a 10 pull. We're going to see if we can't get lucky here. And let's see, maybe the game will shine. It's like, show me some, no gold, no luck. Could we get an Alicia, though? That would be wonderful. I just need an excuse to... Nope. There's an Iona, though. Hey! I did buy her, I think, on my first week in the game or something like that. That was my sign that I was like, okay, this game is good enough to spend money on, so I bought an Iona. We'll pull these last two, see if we can't snag another PRAETUS. I think unlikely, obviously, at this point, but that would make for one hell of a video if it wanted to add a little intrigue and drama in here. But nope. So that is, I think I'm about 120 at this point, since I pulled that double Lord legendary on Friday, or on Saturday, excuse me. It's 3 a.m. on Friday night, technically Saturday at that point, but very, very late on Friday night. I pulled that double Lord legendary, and then my luck went right back to where it usually is with Ancients, which is non-existent, is where it went. So. I'll see. I'm going to start stacking some up. I think I'm probably going to wait until the Nightmare Lord to pull some more, but, we will see. In any case, guys, I do hope you enjoyed this. I think this is kind of fun. I feel like it's able to kind of cover a broad range of topics in a short amount of time, so hopefully this was an enjoyable experience. If you are interested in seeing more of this content, you want to see mailbags every week, once a month, that kind of thing, one, sound off in the comments and let me know how often you'd be interested in watching something like this. And two, if you do have a question that you'd like to include, or like me, I should say, to include in the next mailbag, please do let me know in the comments. I will be keeping an eye out for your answers. Remember to like and subscribe. Really helps me out. I would certainly appreciate it. And yeah, happy holidays, everybody. I hope you had good luck on your summons. I certainly did. Got my PRAETUS. That's all that really matters. So in any case, y'all, good luck. I will catch you all next time.